They spent their retirement sailing the Caribbean. Calm waters, quiet nights, and a life lived under the sun. For Ralph Hendry and Kathy Brandel, the ocean wasn't an escape, it was home. But in February 2024, everything changed. 3 escaped criminals boarded their yacht, and within hours, Simplicity, the vessel they had lovingly maintained for years, became a drifting ghost ship. This is the true story of Ralph and Kathy and the hijacking that shocked the entire cruising world. For thousands of sailors across the world, the Caribbean represents something sacred, a gentle ocean highway filled with turquoise water, sleepy anchorages, and a rhythm of life so soft that people spend decades dreaming of retirement there. And among those dreamers were 2 Americans, 66-year-old Ralph Hendry and 71-year-old Kathy Brandel. Ralph and Kathy weren't celebrities, they weren't adventure bloggers, and they weren't thrill seekers chasing storms. They were simply a loving, married couple who had spent most of their lives working hard, raising a family, and waiting patiently for the day they could cut the lines, point their bow toward the horizon, and sail into the golden years of their life. They lived aboard Simplicity, a modest but comfortable cruising catamaran, not a mega yacht, not a luxury vessel, just a safe, reliable home that allowed them to drift between islands at their own pace. They joined sailing meetups, cooked dinners aboard, watched sunsets from the deck, and sent postcards from every island they visited. By early February 2024, they had reached Grenada, one of the safest, calmest cruising grounds in the region. Grenada is known for its friendly locals, protected bays, and a sailing community that feels more like a floating village than a scattered collection of boats. For Ralph and Kathy, it was the perfect place to anchor overnight. A quiet harbor, a gentle breeze, and no signs of danger. But not far away, something was already slipping out of control. Inside a small police detention center in Grenada, 3 men, each with violent criminal records, were being held for serious offenses. Their names weren't widely known, but their reputations were. They weren't desperate kids or petty thieves. They were hardened criminals with long histories of violence. On February 18th, 2024, during what authorities later described as a breach in security, the 3 men escaped. Custody reports suggest they overpowered or evaded guards, fled into the night, and stole a small boat. Their plan was simple: leave Grenada by water, reach another island, and disappear before police could find them. For most fugitives, escaping on foot or by road is unpredictable. But escaping by boat? In a region filled with thousands of anchorages, isolated coves, and nighttime shadows, the sea can swallow criminals without a trace. The Grenadian police quickly launched a search, alerting nearby islands and coastal patrol units. But the Caribbean isn't a single country. It's a scatter of independent nations, each with their own police, their own bureaucracy, and their own limitations. In the chaos of those first hours, the escapees vanished. That same evening, Simplicity lay peacefully at anchor, gently bobbing in the moonlit water. Ralph and Kathy were preparing dinner aboard, maybe discussing their next stop, maybe reading, maybe planning to sleep early. They had no way of knowing that a small boat carrying 3 desperate men was drifting closer and closer. Exactly what happened next is known only through fragments of evidence the scene investigators later pieced together. But based on the condition of the yacht, the timing of events, and the statements given after the arrest, authorities believe the following. The fugitives boarded Simplicity under the cover of night. They were armed, they were aggressive, and they were determined not to be caught. At some point, they encountered Ralph and Kathy aboard their own vessel. The couple almost certainly resisted, not by fighting, but by pleading, negotiating, trying to calm the intruders. Everyone who knew them said they were kind, gentle people who avoided confrontation. But kindness means nothing to criminals who see a boat as a ticket to freedom. Inside the main cabin, investigators later found clear signs of a violent struggle. Objects knocked over, blood traces, ripped lines, indicators of panic and chaos. The running theory, supported by official reports, is that Ralph and Kathy were restrained, possibly tied up. What happened afterward is the darkest part of the entire story. Authorities believe the intruders threw Ralph and Kathy overboard, whether they were conscious or not, whether they were weighted down or left to drown. No one knows. What is known is that neither of them were ever seen again. The ocean that had been their home suddenly became their grave. With the couple gone, the escaped criminals took control of Simplicity and sailed northward, leaving Grenada behind. Their plan was clear: use the yacht to reach another island, blend in, and hide. Sailing between islands in the Caribbean is incredibly easy. No passports, no checkpoints, no paperwork. Boats come and go every hour without a hint of scrutiny. In the wrong hands, it becomes the perfect cover. Over the next 2 days, Simplicity cruised towards St. Vincent, and the Grenadines' witnesses later reported seeing the yacht moving unusually with unskilled handling, inconsistent speed, and suspicious behavior. The fugitives, despite being violent criminals, were not trained sailors. Navigation, anchoring, and maneuvering a catamaran required skills they didn't have. By the time Simplicity reached the shores of St. Vincent, the criminals were exhausted, paranoid, and losing control of the vessel. They abandoned the yacht and disappeared into the island's interior. On February 21st, 2024, several days after the couple's disappearance, local fishermen spotted Simplicity anchored quietly near the coast, unattended, drifting slightly, and eerily still. When police boarded the vessel, they immediately sensed something was wrong. There were no people, no dinghy, and no signs of normal cruising activity. Instead, they found the unmistakable marks of violence: bloodstains, broken items, personal belongings scattered, and ropes that appeared to have been used as restraints. It wasn't a missing person case anymore. It was a homicide. The news spread quickly across the sailing world. Cruisers in Grenada realized Ralph and Kathy were missing. Their sailing group, the Salty Dog Sailing Association, issued an alert. Family members back in the United States were notified. Within 24 hours, what began as a local mystery turned into an international headline: American couple missing after yacht hijacked by escaped criminals. Sailing forums exploded. Facebook groups filled with shocked messages from people who had met Ralph and Kathy at anchorages across the Caribbean. They were described as gentle, experienced, generous, the kind of couple who would hand you a spare part, lend you tools, or invite you aboard for coffee just to share stories. For many cruising families, the fear was deeper. If something like this could happen in Grenada, one of the safest islands, it meant the unthinkable. No anchorage was truly immune from random violence. Search efforts began for Ralph and Kathy, but they were symbolic more than hopeful. Currents in that region are strong. Drift patterns are unpredictable, and if the couple had been thrown overboard days earlier, the chances of survival were effectively zero. Meanwhile, police forces in St. Vincent launched an intense manhunt. The 3 escaped criminals were now fugitives across multiple jurisdictions, and this time, they weren't just escapees, they were suspected murderers. It didn't take long before villagers began reporting sightings of suspicious men hiding in forested areas, moving through rural communities and trying to find ways off the island. After days of coordination between St. Vincent authorities, coastal patrols, and the Grenadian police, the fugitives were finally captured. They were arrested alive, taken into custody, and questioned. Although they denied killing Ralph and Kathy, the evidence aboard the yacht told another story. In 2025, after months of investigation, extradition requests, and legal delays, the men were sentenced in connection with their escape and the hijacking. But the most devastating fact remained unchanged. Ralph and Kathy were never found. No remains, no personal items washed ashore, no confirmed sightings. Nothing. The ocean kept its secret. The tragedy struck the cruising world hard because it highlighted a reality most sailors prefer not to talk about. Vulnerability at anchor boats are isolated. There are no neighbors on the other side of a wall, no police minutes away, no cameras watching the street. At sea, your safety depends on your surroundings, and sometimes fate brings danger directly to your deck. But this story is not just about crime. It is about the heartbreaking contrast between who Ralph and Kathy were and how their lives ended. They were described as warm, patient, endlessly kind. They loved the ocean not because it made them feel powerful, but because it made them feel free. They were living the dream so many share. retiring not into a quiet suburban house, but into a world of open water, salty wind, starry nights, and quiet adventure. Their friends say they lived fully, without fear, without regret. They didn't rush. They didn't compete. They didn't chase wealth or status. They chased sunsets, friendships, and simple joy. And maybe that's what makes their final chapter so painful. The randomness of it, the unfairness, the senselessness. In the aftermath, the sailing community organized memorial flotillas. Boats gathered in peaceful bays, dropped flowers onto the water, and honored the couple in the way sailors have honored lost mariners for centuries, with silence, prayer, and the belief that their spirits now travel with the tides they loved so deeply. Today, simplicity no longer drifts between islands. The catamaran was recovered, examined, and eventually removed from evidence. But her story, and the story of the couple who called her home, remains etched into the memory of everyone who sails the Caribbean. Some tragedies are loud, filled with explosions, storms, or dramatic rescues. But others are quiet, a peaceful yacht at anchor, a couple enjoying retirement, a night that should have been like any other, and yet, in the darkness, 3 men made a decision that turned a dream into a nightmare. As of 2025, the exact truth of what happened on that February night may never be fully known. The ocean doesn't give back answers. It buries them. Still, the legacy of Ralph Hendry and Kathy Brandel lives on, not in fear, not in tragedy, but in the love they had for the sea and for each other. Their story is a reminder that life is fragile, even in paradise. A reminder that every sunset matters, and a reminder that behind every peaceful anchorage lies a world that can change in an instant.